Hello students, welcome to Learn at SAM tutorial. Hello students, welcome to Learn at SAM tutorial. Today I am going to explain about important questions in respiration chapter. So first let us see what is respiration. Here is asking definition. What is respiration? So we should define the respiration. Respiration is a process of oxidation of food, or we can say breakdown of food by releasing energy. So what happens here, when glucose is broken down with the help of oxygen, what happens? Carbon dioxide, some water and energy is released. So we can say that oxidation or breakdown of food by releasing energy. So respiration is a process of releasing energy by oxidation of food. Right? Now, if they ask you what does respiration meaning? So actually respiration is a term derived from Latin. You know, most of the science words are derived from Latin or Greek. So respiration is a word derived from Latin, respire. What is the meaning of respire? To breathe. Okay. So we breathe in and we breathe out, right? So respire meaning is to breathe. So this is the meaning and this is the definition. Now next question. According to Lavoisier, which gas is respirable gas? If they ask you which is respirable gas means, respirable gas is, simply we should say oxygen. If they say chalky acid gas. So chalky acid gas according to Lavoisier is carbon dioxide. Next, they may ask you to draw the pathway of air. Pathway of air answer is important. Pathway of flowchart is also important. And they may ask you diagram of lungs also. Draw the structure of lungs and label the parts. That is also very important. So pathway of air or flowchart of the air, let us see now. What do you mean by pathway of air? How the air from outside enters and where it goes. Okay, and how it comes back. That is the pathway of air. So let us see now. First thing is nostril. So it goes to nostrils. Then it comes to nasal cavity. Then after nasal cavity, it enters into the pharynx. It goes after pharynx, it goes to larynx. We can say voice box also. After larynx, it goes to trachea. After trachea, it goes to bronchus. After bronchus, it goes to bronchioles. After bronchioles, it goes to alveolus. After alveolus, it reaches to blood capillaries. Okay. So, oxygen, it enters from nostril, it goes to blood. In the same way, from the blood, carbon dioxide comes to alveolus, again from alveolus to bronchioles, bronchioles to bronchus, bronchioles to trachea, trachea to larynx, larynx to pharynx, pharynx to nasal cavity to nostril, and nostril it comes out. So carbon dioxide comes out and oxygen enters in. Understood? So this is the flow chart of pathway of air. So this is important. They may ask you flow chart also. So there is a trick to remember this. If you follow this trick, you can remember. Okay, so simple way remember. Neeku telusa nampalli lo TB BAB Bob Ray. So neeku telusa nampalli lo TB Bob Ray. This is the trick. If you remember, you can say nostril, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, alveolus and blood. So this is the way to remember the flowchart. Now next comes think and discuss questions. think and discuss questions they may ask you in the exam. This is very important, you need to remember. So let us see the question. What will happen if the respiratory tract is not moist? See, air travels nostril, nasal cavity like this. So this nostrils or nasal cavity, pharynx, this tract should be moist. Understood? Lined with the mucus, and it should be moist. Then only the air which contains dust or bacteria that goes and stuck with these moist surfaces, and the fresh air will enter into our lungs. Understood? If our respiratory tract is not moist, what happens? Dust, bacteria, microorganisms, they may directly enter into our lungs and they may cause asthma and some other lung related diseases. Understood? So it should be moist, so that if the surface is moist, the dust may go and stuck with the moist surface and the fresh air will enter into that. So it's a type of filtration. Understood? Next. Are both lungs similar in size? No. See, right side lung is larger. It contains 3 lobes. Left side larger contains only 2 lobes. And this is little bit smaller due to presence of heart towards the left side. So left side lung is smaller compared with the right side lung. Next question. Why are alveoli so small and uncountable in number? See, just I am drawing the rough diagram. This is the lung. So in these lungs there are many small tiny surfaces are called alveolus. Alveolus. Singular alveolus, plural alveoli. Understood? So these are very small. They are small because to accommodate in lungs, and they are uncountable more in number because to increase the surface area, this surface, to increase the surface area? Because what is the function of alveolus? First we should know. The major function of alveolus is to transport or to help in exchange of gases. So alveolus will supply oxygen to blood, and they take carbon dioxide from the blood. Understood? So here alveolus are very tiny and small, and they are more in number to increase the surface area, thereby to maximize the exchange of gases. So that is the main intention. Okay, next question. What is epiglottis and what is the use of it? What is epiglottis? Next question comes, what is epiglottis? What is epiglottis? So epiglottis is a flap-like valve. What is the function of this flap-like valve? It prevents the entry of food into the air pipe. Understood? It prevents the entry of food into the air pipe. Next question, mechanism of respiration. So mechanism of respiration is also a very important question, one of the 4-mark answer. So you need to remember the mechanism of respiration. Understood? So in mechanism of respiration, they may ask you 1 mark and 2 marks answer also. So let us understand briefly what is mechanism of respiration. See, when you breathe in, the air will go inside. You know how air will go inside? So when you breathe in, the lungs, the chest wall will expand. So when chest wall will expand and the diaphragm which is present in chest region, it goes down. Thereby the volume of the chest region will increase and pressure decreases compared with the outside pressure. So the air from outside will rushes into the lungs. Understood? And the same way, when diaphragm comes up and the chest wall closes, relaxes, then what happens? When they contract chest wall, immediately the chest cavity, volume of chest cavity will decrease. Thereby pressure increases inside, and inside air comes out. So this is the mechanism of respiration. So mechanism of respiration is simple. The thing is how the air goes in and how the air comes out. So here chest wall helps and diaphragm also helps. Understood? Next question. Absent in human beings. What happens? We cannot breathe in and we cannot breathe out. The air will not go inside and the air will not come out. Understood? Next. Draw the diagram of alveoli. Mention its use. They will ask you this diagram to draw and they'll ask you the use of this. So what is the use of this? They help in exchange of gases. See, they may ask you how lungs are protected. Lungs are protected by two things. One is pleura. What is pleura? See, lungs are made up of two membranes. Okay, they are made up of two membranes. So these two membranes are called as pleura. Okay, so this pleura is filled with the fluid. The space between these two membranes are filled with the fluid, and this helps the lungs from shock. Understood? Next thing is pleura is helping. The second thing is our rib cage, the bones. Okay, so this is also helping the lungs. Got it? Next, what is the capacity of our lungs? It is 5,800 ml. 5,800 ml is the capacity of human lungs. Understood? Next, see here, for 4 marks or 2 marks, they may give this table and they may ask you 4 questions or 2 questions from this table. Okay, see, the questions from this might be, what is the composition of inhaled air? What is the composition of inhaled air? See here, inhaled air, oxygen 21%, carbon dioxide 0.03%, nitrogen 78%. So this is the composition of inhaled air. Suppose if they ask you why the oxygen percentage in inhaled air and exhaled air differs. In inhaled air it is 21, in exhaled air it is 16. It is reduced when it comes out. Why? Because for oxidation of glucose, for breaking down of food, oxygen is utilized by our body. That's why the percentages of oxygen is reduced. So like that, question can be asked from the table. Got it? Then next, define inhalation and exhalation or inspiration and expiration. They may ask you definition or maybe they may ask you differences. Understood? So, inhalation. Inhalation or inspiration. What do you mean by this? Breathing inside. The passage of air from outside to inside our lungs is inspiration. Then what is exhalation or expiration? Exhalation or expiration. It is nothing but the air which is coming out. Understood? So breathe out is exhalation, breathe in is inhalation. Next, name the respiratory pigment which helps in gases transport. Respiratory pigment. It is nothing but hemoglobin. Actually, hemoglobin is a protein, okay, which helps in transport of gases. It binds with oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin, and it transports to all body cells, and from body cells it combines with the carbon dioxide and it brings to the alveolus. So it helps in gases transport. So this is a respiratory pigment, hemoglobin, which is present in RBC. Why does rate of breath increase while walking uphill? you need to remember that sea level, the volume or the percentage of oxygen is more. When you go below the sea level or above the sea level, then immediately what happens? Definitely the percentage of oxygen in atmosphere decreases. So when you are climbing a mountain, immediately what happens here, the volume or the percentage of oxygen decreases and you need to breathe more, okay, to support your body. Understood? So automatically you will breathe more due to insufficient oxygen amount. You will breathe more to require for the fulfillment of requirement of your body, thereby the rate of respiration increases. Next question. Why does a deep sea diver carry oxygen cylinder? See, when you are going deep into the ocean or in the sea, what happens? Oxygen is dissolved with water, and human beings cannot take the oxygen which is dissolved in water. Understood? So definitely they will carry oxygen cylinder. Understood? Because we don't have gills, right? We have lungs. So our body is not modified like fishes, whereas fishes have gills, so they will take oxygen which is dissolved with water. We have lungs, so our body is not designed like fish, right? Next question, very important question, 4-mark answer is cellular respiration. So they'll ask you to write about cellular respiration, so you need to write cellular respiration and flow chart, everything. Okay, so from cellular respiration, they may ask you 1 mark, 2 marks answers also. So let us see the questions. Where does cellular respiration takes place? In case of prokaryotes, in case of eukaryotes. See, in case of prokaryotes, cellular respiration occurs in cytoplasm of the cell. Cytoplasm. But whereas in eukaryotes, cellular respiration occurs in cytoplasm as well as mitochondria. So these are the two places where cellular respiration takes place in eukaryotes like plants and human beings. Right? Next question is, which cell organelle is called as powerhouse of the cell and why? So the answer is mitochondria. Mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. Why they call? Because they store energy in the form of ATP. Now, next question. What is ATP? Or what is the full form of ATP? What is the use of ATP? Okay. Now, ATP full form is adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is the full form of ATP. So, 1 ATP will give you 7,200 calories of energy. So 1 ATP will give you this much of energy. So ATP is a small packet of chemical energy. The next important question is, draw the diagram of mitochondria and mention its use. So they may ask you for 2 marks. So you should draw the diagram of mitochondria and you should mention its use. What is the use of mitochondria? It helps in respiration, and next is it stores the energy. That's why it is called as powerhouse of the cell, right? Next, what is glycolysis? Next question is, what is glycolysis? What is glycolysis? Breaking down of glucose, or we can say conversion of glucose into pyruvate or pyruvic acid. Understood? Pyruvate or pyruvic acid. So conversion of glucose into pyruvate or pyruvic acid is called as glycolysis. Glycolysis, right? Now next question. concentration of lactic acid graph. So they may give you this graph. Understood? So they may ask you, they'll give you this graph and they'll ask 4 questions from this graph. Understood? So you should answer this. Question might be like this: what was the concentration of lactic acid in the blood to start with? So the lactic acid concentration is starting with, from the graph, what is the answer? It is 20, right? Next question. What was the greatest concentration reached during the experiment? So during this experiment, it has reached above 100. So it might be 101. So it is just slightly above the 100. So we should say 101. So like that, what does high level of lactic acid indicate about the condition of respiration? So actually lactic acid accumulation is occurring in human beings when it occurs during anaerobic respiration. So what is anaerobic respiration? See, if the respiration occurs in presence of oxygen, it is aerobic respiration. Okay, what is aerobic respiration? The respiration or breaking down of food which occurs, a releasing process which occurs in presence of oxygen, it is aerobic. If it occurs in absence of oxygen, then we should call it as anaerobic respiration. So the respiration process which occurs in absence of oxygen, during insufficient amount of oxygen, at that time we should call it as anaerobic respiration. Generally, anaerobic respiration occurs in bacteria and in yeast. Okay, aerobic respiration occurs in human beings and plants. Understood? So, what happens during aerobic respiration? During aerobic respiration, this pyruvate is converted into carbon dioxide, water and energy in presence of oxygen. So this is aerobic respiration. In case of anaerobic respiration, that is in absence of oxygen, it converts into lactic acid. Understood? In human beings, during heavy exercise, what happens, at the time of exercise, our body starts paining, or rigorous work when you do, or any labor work if you do that. So, or if you do the rigorous exercise, generally what happens? Muscle pain will occur. Why it occurs? Because of lactic acid accumulation in your muscles. Why lactic acid accumulation occurs? Because during heavy exercise, your oxygen depth is created there. You are not able to take sufficient amount of oxygen at that time. So what happens? Immediately our body will take up anaerobic respiration. So during anaerobic respiration, this pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. Understood? So bacteria, pyruvate is converted into lactic acid and energy in case of bacteria. But in case of yeast, this pyruvate is converted into ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. Understood? So this is during anaerobic respiration, that is in absence of oxygen, and this is during aerobic respiration. Now let us understand the evolution in gases exchanging system. Evolution in gases exchanging system. So diffusion will occur in unicellular organisms like amoeba. So first one is diffusion. This diffusion will occur through body surface. So body surface. So here example in case of unicellular organism is amoeba. Multicellular organism, it is planaria. through body surface it occurs. Next, respiration process can occur through trachea. So that is tracheal respiration. Next one is tracheal respiration. Tracheal respiration will occur through trachea. It's a body pore. Okay, so it is seen in case of insects like cockroach, grasshopper. Understood? So here example is grasshopper, cockroach. Next respiration is branchial respiration. So branchial respiration. Respiration which occurs through gills or bronchi. Okay, that is respiration is called as branchial respiration. It occurs in case of tadpole of frog as well as fish. Okay. So next respiration is cutaneous respiration. Okay. Next one is cutaneous respiration. Cutaneous respiration will occur through skin, and this is seen in case of adult frog. Okay, this is seen in case of adult frogs. Understood? And earthworms also. Next, pulmonary respiration. Next one is pulmonary respiration. So the respiration which occurs through lungs is called as pulmonary respiration, and this is seen in case of mammals, reptiles, birds, or you can call it as aves, right? So like dolphins, crocodile. Okay, in all these cases respiration occurs through lungs. Understood? So we can also say these are the types of respiration also: tracheal respiration, branchial, cutaneous, and pulmonary respiration. Sometimes this can be asked for 4 marks, or else for objective. In case of objective or 1 mark, they may ask you, right? So you need to remember this. This is very important. Next question, very important. Why do different organisms have different respiratory organs? See, you see this here. Different organisms like grasshopper, they have trachea, fish have gills, human beings, they have lungs. So different organisms, they have different respiratory organs. Why? The reason is the type of respiratory organs depends upon place in which organisms live. See, some organisms they live in terrestrial on the land, or some they live in water. Some live in cold conditions, some they live in hot conditions, some they live in moderate condition, some lives on the trees. So it depends upon the place in which organisms live, the body's size. Some size is bigger, some are smaller in size. And next, availability of water. Understood? And type of their circulatory system. There are 2 types of circulatory system, open type and closed type circulatory system. So depending upon the place they live, availability of water, their body size, as well as the type of circulatory system, different organisms have different respiratory organs. Okay. Next one is respiration in plants. Do you know respiration in plants will occur through stomata? Next, it occurs through lenticels. It also occurs through roots. Understood? In case of mangroves, respiration occurs through roots. So if stomata is closed, then what happens? On the stem, they have small openings. They are called as lenticels. Got it? So through lenticels, respiration can also occur. So in plants, respiration occurs through stomata, lenticels, and roots. Okay. Diagrams from this chapter. The important diagrams are structure of mitochondria, lungs diagram, and alveoli, these three. Next, if you see the flow chart, important is pathway of air, or sometimes cellular respiration flow chart also they'll ask you like glucose is converted into pyruvate, and pyruvate in case of aerobic it is converted into carbon dioxide, water and energy. In case of anaerobic it is converted into lactic acid and energy in case of bacteria. So like that the flow chart can be asked, or even they may ask you the flow chart of events in respiration. Okay, that flow chart can also be asked. So that is about flow chart. Now let us see important 4 marks questions from this chapter is, first thing is experiments. You know 4 experiments, I have explained you about these 4 experiments in my previous video also. Experiment with yeast, that is very important. Next experiment is combustion experiment, combustion of sugar experiment. Third one is how to prove carbon dioxide is released during aerobic respiration. Then fourth one is how to prove heat is liberated during aerobic respiration. So these are the 4 important experiments. Now let us see other 4 marks answers are differences. Difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration, differences between respiration and combustion, differences between photosynthesis and respiration, differences between inspiration and expiration. So these differences are also very important. Okay, and I told you one table, right? Inhalation and exhalation, percentage of inhalation and exhalation of air table, as well as the graph, lactic acid, concentration of lactic acid graph can be asked, cellular respiration, mechanism of respiration, pathway of air. These are all important answers. Okay, so prepare it well for your exams. In my next video, I'll be discussing very important questions of 3rd chapter.